The Grasshopper and the Ant. Once upon a time, there was a grasshopper. Now, I don't know if you know what a grasshopper is. A grasshopper is an insect, and he's very long and very thin and green, and he jumps about. But this grasshopper didn't jump about. This grasshopper liked to do two things. He liked to sleep, and he liked to sing. He thought he had a lovely voice. And all day long, he would walk through the forest singing. And none of the other animals listened to him. But he didn't care. I've got a lovely voice, he said. So, one day, summer came. And the grasshopper saw all of the animals running about in the forest and jumping and playing. And he thought, aha, this is a perfect time for me to show them my lovely voice. And he went into the middle of the forest, and there was a little hill. And he stood on the hill so everybody could see him. And he went, hey, 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 grasshopper, oh, I'm a grasshopper. And nobody listened to him, but he kept going. And when they didn't listen, he thought, maybe they don't like my style. I'll change to opera. Grasshopper. They still didn't listen. He was a very silly grasshopper. But he kept going, and he kept singing, and he kept until, in among all the animals, he saw a tiny, tiny ant. And the ant was carrying a grain of rice. Now, for you and for me, a grain of rice is a tiny, teeny, tiny little thing. But an ant, who's also very tiny and very teeny, well, for him, it's as big as a mountain. And he was carrying the rice, and it was very heavy. But luckily, an ant is very strong, so he didn't have too much of a problem. And he was walking along with the rice, and the grasshopper said, Hey, Mr. Ant! Why are you carrying that rice? And the ant said, well, I need it for the winter, because in the winter we won't have any. And he said, but now it's summer, and all the birds are singing, and I'm singing. You should listen to me. Hey, listen to this. Grasshopper, oh, grasshopper. And the ant said, no. You're very silly, Mr. Grasshopper. I'm going to take the rice home now. Thank you. And he did. He took the rice. And once he got the rice to his house, he went back into the forest, and he found nuts, and he found peanuts, and walnuts, and corn, and wheat, and all of the nice things that you and I like to eat. The ants like to eat them as well. And he carried them all very slowly, but without stopping, to his house. And meanwhile, the grasshopper didn't do anything like that. He just stood on his hill, and he sang, and he danced, and nobody listened to him. But he still thought, I have a lovely voice. They just don't understand me. And then, before long, the leaves started to fall from the trees, because summer had gone, and now it was autumn. So the grasshopper stayed on his hill, singing and dancing, and the ant continued to carry all of the food back to his house. And the grasshopper saw the ant, and he said, Hey, Mr. Ant, why are you carrying that rice? You carried it all summer long. And the ant said, because winter is very cold and very long, and I need all of this food to survive until spring, which comes after winter. So he continued to carry it, and the grasshopper continued to sing. And before long, all of the leaves had fallen from the trees, and the trees had no leaves, and then winter came. And you know what happens in winter, don't you? It gets very cold, and snow falls, and it's very, very cold, and everyone shakes and shivers. And that's what happened to the grasshopper. All of the other animals, who were very intelligent, went into their little houses and closed the doors so they were nice and warm. And the grasshopper, who hadn't done any work in the summer, he didn't have a house to go to. And he started to get very sad and very cold and very hungry. And he started to sing a very sad song with a harmonica. He went, I don't have any food. I am so hungry. And he walked all the way to the ant's house, and he knocked on the door. And the ant opened the door and he said, Yes, And he said, "Could you help me out, Mr. Ant? I have no food." He said, "Well, I told you in the summer and in the autumn, but you didn't listen to me. You just sang and slept, and I was working, and now I have all of this lovely food, and you don't have any. And that's your problem. Goodbye." And he closed the door. And the grasshopper got very scared, and he walked over to a tree, and the tree had no leaves. It was a very sad tree. And he sat down on the tree, and he cried. "I have nothing to eat, and it's very cold." Now, the ant, who was in his house, looked through the curtains, out the window, and he saw the grasshopper. And the ant was very angry with the grasshopper, but luckily, the ant was also a very good ant. So he thought for a bit, and he went to the door, and he opened the door, and he said, "Hey, grasshopper, come here." So the grasshopper very slowly, because he was very hungry, walked towards the ant's door. And the ant said to him, "I have an idea." "What's that, Mr. Ant?" said the grasshopper. The ant said, "I have a problem, you see, because I have a radio, and normally in the winter, I like to listen to my music while I eat my food, but my radio's broken. It doesn't work. So, if you come in and you sing to me, I will give you food. And next summer, you have to come with me and help me carry things, because you are bigger than me, and you can carry even more. And then next winter, we'll have lots and lots of food for both of us." And the grasshopper was very happy, and he went in and he sang all of his greatest hits. The one that goes, "Grasshopper," and the other one goes, "Grasshopper," and they became best friends, and they had lots of food. And then every summer, the grasshopper could always be seen helping the ant gather his food. Because remember, you have to do your work. If you want to have a good time later on, first of all, you have to do the right thing. And that's what the ant and the grasshopper did, and they lived happily ever after. Oh.